Virginia legislature is nearing its end. West Virginia Education Association President Dale Lee says the legislature hasn't taken many steps to address issues with public education. Despite calls from Governor Patrick Morrisey that lawmakers should make teacher pay more competitive with neighboring states, pay raises for teachers and other public employees haven't found their way into either budget bill currently under consideration by the House of Delegates and State Senate. Bills related to student discipline have been introduced, but as of yet haven't passed both houses or been signed into law. Lee says he's not overly impressed with what the lawmakers have done for West Virginia's public schools.
You know, we've done a lot with private schools, parochial schools, and home schools, but not a lot for public education.
Lee says he hopes to see the legislature take some positive steps before the session ends at midnight on Saturday.